The luna's crown was still warm on my head when my husband announced his mistress was carrying his heir, and that I had 1 hour to vacate my own palace. I stood frozen on the dais, the weight of silver and moonstone pressing against my temples like a lie I'd been telling myself for 3 years. The throne room stretched before me, packed with nobles and council members who'd bowed to me just this morning. Now they watched with the hungry fascination of wolves circling wounded prey. Dominic didn't even look at me when he said it. "Vivian Ashworth carries my son." His voice rang through the vaulted chamber, bouncing off stone walls that had heard my prayers, my tears, my desperate attempts to be enough. "The child will be recognized as my legitimate heir upon birth." The woman beside him, where I should have been standing, placed a delicate hand over her swelling belly. Vivian's smile was a small, perfect thing. The kind of smile that said she'd already won long before I knew we were playing. "Dominic." My voice came out steadier than I expected. "I'm your Luna. Your fated mate. This child cannot." Fated mate. He finally turned to look at me, and his eyes held all the warmth of a winter grave. "Is that what you still believe?" The court went quiet. The kind of quiet that precedes avalanches. "I severed our bond 2 years ago, Serena." He said it casually, like he was discussing the weather. Dark magic. Blood magic. The old ways. You felt nothing because there was nothing left to feel. 2 years. For 2 years, I'd blamed myself for the emptiness. For the cold bed and the colder silences. I'd thought it was something broken in me, some failure of devotion or desire. I'd prayed to the moon goddess, begging her to tell me what I'd done wrong. And all along, he'd simply cut me out. Like removing a tumor. Like excising something unwanted. "You can't do that," I whispered. "The mate bond is sacred." It's inconvenient," Vivian interrupted, her voice dripping with the kind of sweetness that made my teeth ache. "Poor thing. You really didn't know?" She descended from the dais with practiced grace, her silk gown trailing behind her like a victory banner. "I suppose I should feel guilty, but honestly, Serena, you made it so easy. Standing in corners. Never speaking up. I used to wonder if Dominic had married a woman or a shadow." Laughter rippled through the court. Soft at first, then building. Lord Ashford, who'd danced with me at my wedding. Lady Tremaine, who'd sworn eternal friendship over tea just last week. They all laughed. "Vivian," Dominic said, with more tenderness than he'd shown me in years. "Don't be cruel." "Of course, my love." She turned back to me, her expression shifting to something that almost looked like pity. "I'm not heartless, you know. You've served this pack well, in your own limited way. I've convinced Dominic to let you stay." Hope flickered, stupid, desperate hope. "As a household servant." Vivian's smile widened. "You can tend the gardens, perhaps. Or help in the kitchens. That way you can stay close to what you love." The laughter came again, louder now. A wave of mockery crashing over me. I looked at Dominic, my husband, my mate, the man I'd given everything to, and saw nothing. No guilt. No hesitation. Just the mild impatience of someone waiting for an unpleasant task to be finished. "You have 1 hour to gather your personal belongings," he said. "The guards will escort you to the servant quarters. Or you may leave packed territory entirely. The choice is yours, but make it quickly. Vivian needs her rest." Something shifted inside me. It started small. A spark in the darkness where my wolf had slept for years. She'd gone quiet after the mating ceremony, retreating so far into the depths of my consciousness that I'd almost forgotten what her presence felt like. I'd assumed it was normal. That wolves grew dormant in the security of a mate bond. But there had been no bond. Just a void. And in that void, something had been waiting. "Enough," a voice whispered. Not my voice. Older. Deeper. A sound like thunder rolling over mountains. The spark became a flame. No. The word left my mouth before I could stop it. Simple. Quiet. But something in the air changed. The candles along the walls flickered. Vivian's smile faltered. I'm sorry? I said no. I straightened my spine. The crown suddenly felt different on my head. Heavier, but in a way that felt right. Like a weight I was finally strong enough to bear. I will not serve in the house where I was Luna. I will not tend the gardens of the man who betrayed me. Dominic's eyes narrowed. You don't have a choice. You have no pack, no family, no resources. Where exactly do you think you'll go? Anywhere, my wolf growled. Everywhere. We are not nothing. We have never been nothing. The flame inside me roared into a wildfire. Later, the court would tell different stories about what happened next. Some would say they saw my eyes change first, the ordinary brown bleeding away like ink in water, replaced by gold so pure it looked like molten sunlight. Others would swear they felt the power before they saw anything at all, a pressure in the air that made their wolves whimper and cower. I only knew that for the first time in years, I felt whole. The windows exploded. Every pane of ancient glass in the throne room, centuries-old windows depicting the moon goddess in all her phases, shattered outward in a cascade of razor-sharp fragments. The nobles screamed, dropping to the floor with their arms over their heads. Vivian shrieked and stumbled backward, Dominic catching her instinctively. But neither of them could look away from me. What? Dominic's voice cracked. What are you? I didn't know. I didn't care. All I knew was that the empty space inside me was finally full, and the power coursing through my veins felt like coming home. I, Serena Blackwood, reject my title as Luna of the Crescent Moon Pack. The formal words burned coming out, ancient magic giving them weight. I sever all ties to this territory, this throne, and this alpha. Pain lanced through my chest, not from a bond breaking, because that had been destroyed long ago. This was the death of everything I'd thought my life would be. The final surrender of hope. But underneath the pain, my wolf was singing. I turned and walked out of the throne room. No one tried to stop me. I passed through halls I'd decorated, rooms I'd filled with flowers and light, trying so hard to make this cold palace feel like home. I didn't take anything except the clothes on my back. The crown, I left on the throne room floor. Let Vivian have it. Let her wear the weight of all those expectations, all those duties, all those sleepless nights wondering if she'd ever be enough. Outside, the night air hit my face like a blessing. The moon hung full and heavy above the treeline, and I could have sworn I saw it pulse with approval. I ran. Not away from something, toward something. I didn't know what yet. But my wolf knew. She'd been waiting for this moment, gathering strength in the darkness, preparing for the day I'd finally let her free. I made it 3 miles into the forest before I had to stop. My body folded in on itself, not with weakness but with something else entirely. A cramping in my core that made me gasp and press my hands against my stomach. My wolf went utterly still. No, I thought. No, that's not possible. But the signs were undeniable, now that I was paying attention. The nausea I'd attributed to stress. The exhaustion I'd blamed on sleepless nights. The strange tenderness that I'd assumed was just my body betraying me in one more way. I was pregnant. The realization should have brought panic. Should have brought dread or despair or any of the other emotions that would make sense for a woman who'd just lost everything. Instead, my wolf curled around the tiny spark of life inside me, protective and fierce. Ours, she said. Only ours. I thought back, counting days, counting weeks. The timing made no sense. Dominic hadn't touched me in months, hadn't wanted me, hadn't looked at me, had barely acknowledged my existence. But my wolf had awakened tonight, and with her awakening, I'd felt something quicken inside me. As if her power had ignited more than just my dormant abilities. As if it had sparked life itself. I pressed my palm flat against my stomach, feeling nothing yet but knowing something was there. Something that was part of me, yes. But maybe something else too. Something connected to whatever royal bloodline had just announced itself through my golden eyes. I had no pack. No home. No mate. No money. No one in this world who would help me. And I had a baby coming. A baby whose father might be the husband who'd betrayed me. Or might be something else entirely. The moon blazed overhead, and I swore I heard laughter, ancient and knowing and not entirely kind. My wolf just smiled. "Run," she said. "They'll come looking once they understand what we are. What we're carrying." She was right. Even now, I could feel the distant pulse of pursuit beginning to organize itself. Dominic wouldn't let me simply disappear. Not after that display of power. Not after those golden eyes. I'd been invisible for 3 years. The perfect, forgettable Luna. Now I was something else. Something dangerous. And I had no idea what that meant. I pressed my hand once more against my stomach, a promise, a prayer, a declaration of war, and started running again. The forest swallowed me whole, and somewhere behind me, the crescent moon pack woke to find their former Luna had vanished. They wouldn't find me. Not tonight. But eventually? Eventually, they would come. And when they did, I would need to be ready. My wolf growled her agreement. "Let them come," she said. "Let them see what we become." Above us, the moon kept its secrets. And inside me, something grew. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel too. Get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. 3 years later. The night shift at St. Catherine's Memorial had its own rhythm, and Elena Mercer had learned to love it. 3 a.m. brought the quiet hours, the stretch between the late-night emergencies and the early morning chaos. She moved through the pediatric ward with practiced efficiency, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, offering comfort to the children who couldn't sleep. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that particular hospital glow that had become more familiar to her than moonlight. She'd chosen pediatrics on purpose. Something about caring for sick children felt like penance and purpose wrapped into one. Elena. Dr. Martinez caught her at the nurse's station, his kind face creased with concern. "You're staying late again. That's the 3rd time this week. Mrs. Patterson's son is having nightmares." She kept her voice light, professional. "I promised I'd sit with him until he falls back asleep. You can't save everyone, you know." "No," she thought. "But I can try." She smiled the smile she'd perfected over 3 years, warm enough to reassure, distant enough to discourage further questions. "I'll head home after. Promise." Home was a 2-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor of a building with no elevator and questionable heating. It was also the safest place Serena Blackwood had ever lived. She caught a glimpse of herself in the darkened window as she finished her rounds. Brown hair cut short and practical. Colored contacts turning her eyes an ordinary hazel. No makeup, no jewelry, nothing memorable. She'd spent 3 years becoming the kind of woman people's eyes slid right over. It was working. She was invisible again. But this time, invisible was exactly what she needed to be. The sun was just cresting the horizon when she climbed the stairs to her apartment, exhaustion settling into her bones with familiar weight. She could hear them before she opened the door, 2 small voices engaged in what sounded like a very serious negotiation. "But I want the purple one." "You always want the purple one." "It's my turn for purple." "There is no turn for purple. Purple is a choice, not a turn." Serena smiled despite herself. 3 years old and already arguing like tiny lawyers. She opened the door to find Mrs. Chen, her elderly neighbor and the only babysitter Serena trusted, presiding over breakfast with the patience of a saint. Lily and Rose sat at the small kitchen table, a single purple cup positioned exactly between them. Mama. They spotted her simultaneously, abandoning their dispute to launch themselves at her legs. Serena dropped to her knees and gathered them close, breathing in the scent of baby shampoo and maple syrup. This was why she got up every day. Why she worked double shifts and lived in a building with no elevator and pretended to be someone she wasn't. These two impossible, miraculous girls. How were they? She asked Mrs. Chen, who was already gathering her things with the efficiency of a woman who'd raised 5 children of her own. Angels. Mrs. Chen's eyes crinkled. Except for the incident with the cabinet. Serena's stomach dropped. What incident? Rose wanted cookies. The ones you keep on the top shelf. Mrs. Chen shrugged, unbothered. She climbed. I don't know how. I turned away for 30 seconds, and she was up there like a little monkey. Children these days, so athletic. Serena forced a laugh that she didn't feel. She does love those cookies. After Mrs. Chen left, Serena sat the girls down for a talk they'd had before. A talk they'd have many more times. Remember what Mama said about being careful? Lily, always the more serious of the two, nodded solemnly. No running too fast. No climbing too high, Rose added, though she looked significantly less sorry about the cookie incident than her sister. No breaking things. No hearing things far away. No, Rose scrunched up her face, trying to remember. No making our eyes go funny? That's right. Serena smoothed her daughter's dark hair, so like her own used to be. We have to be careful. So no one notices we're special. But why? Lily's question was genuine curiosity, not defiance. Being special is good. Being special is dangerous, Serena thought. Being special is what got us here. Some people don't understand special, she said carefully. And when people don't understand things, sometimes they get scared. We don't want to scare anyone, do we? Both girls shook their heads. Good. Now who wants to help Mama make lunch? She watched them scramble toward the kitchen, moving just a little too fast, a little too coordinated for 3-year-olds. Lily grabbed the bread from the counter with fingers that were a little too strong. Rose opened the refrigerator and identified the cheese before she could possibly have seen it. They were getting harder to hide. Her wolf stirred, a sensation Serena immediately suppressed. She'd gotten good at that. Pushing down the beast that had awakened so spectacularly that night in the throne room. Every time she felt the familiar pull of power, she shoved it deeper. Using her abilities meant giving off a signal. A beacon. And somewhere out there, she knew someone was searching. She couldn't let him find them. She would never let him find them. Crescent Moon Pact territory. The throne room had changed. Where once there had been ancient windows depicting the moon goddess, there were now plain walls. No one had replaced the glass that shattered 3 years ago. Dominic claimed it was a reminder of betrayal, but the servants whispered different theories. That he couldn't bear to see moonlight. That the goddess herself had cursed him. That every craftsman who tried to create new windows fell mysteriously ill. The truth was simpler and more pathetic. Dominic simply didn't care anymore. He sat on his throne at 3 a.m. The same hour Serena was finishing her hospital rounds, though he had no way of knowing that, staring at a map spread across the table before him. The map was covered in pins and strings and notes, a web of information that had consumed his every waking moment for 3 years. Where are you? The door opened without a knock. Only one person had that privilege. You should be sleeping. Cale Voss moved into the room with the easy grace of a born predator. Where Dominic was broad and imposing, his younger brother was lean and angular, built for speed and stealth rather than brute force. The pack's deadliest tracker, they called him. The shadow that never lost a scent. Can't sleep. Dominic didn't look up from the map. The bond won't let me. Cale's expression flickered, there and gone so fast that even Dominic, obsessed as he was, didn't notice. The bond that you severed? That's the problem. Dominic finally raised his head, and the change in him was visible even in the dim candlelight. He'd always been hard, but now there was something frantic behind his eyes. Something unhinged. I didn't sever it. The witch lied to me. Took my gold and my blood and gave me nothing but an illusion. How do you know? Because I can feel her. Dominic pressed his fist against his chest, over his heart. For 3 years there was nothing. Silence. I thought that meant the bond was gone. But 6 months ago, it started coming back. Faint at first. Like a radio signal through static. Now it's, he broke off, jaw clenching. Now it's what? Screaming. The word came out ragged. She's alive. Somewhere out there, she's alive, and I can feel her. Her heartbeat. Her breath. Her dreams. He laughed, a sound without humor. Did you know I can feel when she's afraid? She's afraid a lot. Of what, I don't know. But I feel it. Cale kept his face carefully blank. Inside, his wolf was howling. She's afraid of you, he wanted to say. She's afraid you'll find her and destroy whatever peace she's managed to build. There's more, Dominic continued. 2 other heartbeats. Tied to mine. Tied to her. The room went very still. Children. Dominic's voice dropped to something approaching wonder. She has children. My children. 2 of them. Cale felt the world tilt beneath his feet. He'd helped her escape that night. Had found her fleeing through the forest, had given her money and clothes and the name of a contact who could create new identities. He'd done it because he loved her, had always loved her, had watched his brother neglect and betray her for 3 years while Cale stood silent because that was what duty demanded. He'd never known she was pregnant. Twins, Dominic said. It has to be twins. I can feel 2 distinct presences. 2 separate heartbeats. His hands curled into fists. She took my heirs and ran. She ran because you humiliated her, Cale thought. She ran because you chose another woman. She ran because you told her she was nothing. What he said was, "What do you want me to do?" Dominic's eyes met his, and for a moment, Cale saw the brother he remembered from childhood. The boy who'd protected him from their father's rages. The young man who'd taught him to track and hunt and fight. Then the moment passed, and all that remained was the Alpha King. Desperate and obsessed and dangerous. Find her. Dominic's voice brooked no argument. You're the only one I trust for this. The only one skilled enough. I need you to find her and bring her home. And if she doesn't want to come? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. She's my mate, Dominic said finally. The mother of my children. My true Luna. He laughed again, that same hollow sound. Do you know what happened to Vivian's son? He's weak. Sickly. Can't shift. The healers say he never will. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, I have real heirs. Strong ones. I can feel their power through the bond. Cale thought of Vivian, who'd swept into the palace like a conquering queen and now wandered the halls like a ghost. Thought of her son, the boy Dominic barely acknowledged. Thought of all the ways power corrupted and love curdled into possession. I'll find her, he said. Give me everything you have. Dominic handed over the file. 3 years of investigations, dead ends, false leads, and wild theories. Cale took it without expression. Cale. Dominic's hand caught his arm. When you find her, don't tell her about the bond. Don't tell her I'm coming. I want to see her face when she realizes she was never really free. Cale nodded, already planning. He would find Serena. That much was true. But he wasn't planning to bring her back to his brother. He was planning to warn her. Because Dominic was right about one thing. The hunt was on. And Cale knew better than anyone that once his brother set his sights on prey, he didn't stop until he caught it. He had to reach her first. In a small apartment in a human city, Serena Blackwood woke from a nightmare she couldn't quite remember. Her heart was racing. Her wolf was pacing, agitated in a way she hadn't felt in years. Something was wrong. She checked on the girls, both sleeping peacefully, curled around each other like puppies. Rose had her thumb in her mouth. Lily had kicked off her blankets. Normal. Safe. Fine. But as Serena stood in the doorway watching her daughters breathe, she couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere out there, something had shifted. Someone was looking for her. Someone was getting close. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel too. Get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3, The Hunter and the Hunted. The man was sitting on her fire escape when she got home from work. Serena spotted him through the window of the stairwell, a dark silhouette against the gray dawn, perfectly still, perfectly patient. Her wolf surged awake with a violence that made her stumble, and for one terrible moment, she thought it was Dominic. Then the figure turned his head, and she recognized the angular profile. The lean build. The way he held himself like a coiled spring. Cale. She didn't run. Running would only delay the inevitable, and besides, Mrs. Chen was inside with the girls. Whatever happened next, she couldn't let it happen near them. She climbed the last 2 flights of stairs on legs that felt like water and opened her apartment door just wide enough to slip inside. Mrs. Chen, I need you to take the girls to your apartment. She kept her voice steady, calm. Right now. The elderly woman looked up from her crossword puzzle, immediately sensing the tension. Elena, what? Please. I'll explain later. Just take them and lock your door. Mrs. Chen didn't argue. In 60 seconds, she had both sleepy girls bundled up and was heading down the hall. Lily looked back once, her small face creased with worry, but she didn't protest. Serena waited until she heard Mrs. Chen's door close. Then she opened the window to the fire escape. Cale slipped inside like smoke, all controlled grace and predator energy. He looked different than she remembered. Harder, leaner, with new scars visible at the collar of his dark jacket. But his eyes were the same. That particular shade of gray that had always seemed to see too much. You changed your hair, he said. You shouldn't be here. No. He glanced around the small apartment, taking in the second-hand furniture, the children's drawings taped to the refrigerator, the tiny shoes lined up by the door. But here I am. Serena kept the kitchen island between them. Not that it would help if he decided to take her by force. Cale was the best tracker in the Crescent Moon pack. Probably the best in all the territories. If he wanted to subdue her, a kitchen island wasn't going to stop him. How did you find me? I'm good at my job. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Though you made it difficult. The identity work was excellent. Where did you learn to disappear so thoroughly? A contact gave me some names. Helped me get started. She didn't say that the contact had been his contact, the one Cale himself had told her about that night in the forest. She didn't know if he remembered. I know. His smile faded. I know because I'm the one who gave you that contact's name, Serena. 3 years ago. In the forest. The world tilted. She remembered that night in fragments, running through the trees, her wolf howling with newfound power, the terror and exhilaration tangled together. She remembered a shadow stepping out of the darkness, pressing something into her hands. Money. Clothes. A piece of paper with a name and address. Run, the shadow had said. Don't stop until you're somewhere he'll never think to look. She'd been too overwhelmed to recognize the voice. Too desperate to question why someone was helping her. That was you. That was me. Why? Cale's jaw tightened. Because my brother didn't deserve you. Because what he did in that throne room was monstrous. Because, he stopped, shook his head. Does it matter? I helped you then, and I'm trying to help you now. Help me how? By leading Dominic straight to my door? He doesn't know I've found you. Not yet. Cale moved to the window, checking the street below with the automatic vigilance of a man who'd spent his life hunting and being hunted. But he will find you, Serena. Soon. The mate bond, it was never actually severed. The witch deceived him. He can feel you now. Feel the children. Her blood went cold. He knows about the girls? He knows there are 2 heartbeats connected to him. Connected to you. He doesn't know details, not yet. But it's only a matter of time. Serena pressed her palms flat against the counter, fighting the urge to scream. 3 years. 3 years of hiding, of suppressing her wolf, of teaching her daughters to be careful, to be small, to be invisible. And all of it for nothing. How long do I have? Days. Maybe a week if you're lucky. Cale turned back to face her, and she saw something raw in his expression. Something that looked almost like anguish. He's not the same man, Serena. The brother I knew, there was cruelty in him, yes, but there was also reason. Calculation. That man is gone. What do you mean? He's executed 3 pack elders in the past 6 months. For questioning him. For looking at him wrong. Cale's voice was flat, factual. Vivian is imprisoned in the East Tower. Her crime was failing to produce a worthy heir. Her son, the boy she was so triumphant about carrying, he's weak. Sickly. Can't shift. Dominic won't even acknowledge his existence. Part of Serena wanted to feel satisfaction at that. The poetic justice of Vivian's golden future turning to ash. But mostly she just felt tired. And me? What does he want with me? You. The children. The power you demonstrated that night. Cale stepped closer, close enough that she could see the silver threading through his dark hair. He's declared that anyone harboring the fugitive Luna will face death. He sent hunters to every territory, every city, every corner of the werewolf world. And he's obsessed, Serena. Genuinely obsessed. He talks about you constantly. Dreams about you. Wakes up screaming your name. That's not love. That's possession. I know. Cale's hand rose, almost touched her face, then dropped. That's why I'm here to warn you. Not to take you back. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. I can't run again. Serena heard herself speak as if from a great distance. The girls, they need stability. They need a home. I can't keep dragging them from city to city, always looking over my shoulder. Then you need protection. Cale's expression shifted, became calculating. There's one territory outside Dominic's control. One alpha who's never bent the knee. Shadowvale. You've heard of it. Everyone had heard of Shadowvale. The dark territory to the north, ruled by Alpha Ezra Cole, a man so mysterious that half the stories about him couldn't possibly be true. They said he'd killed his own father to take the throne. Said he'd made a deal with darkness itself. Said he was more monster than man. They also said he was the only alpha in 3 generations to refuse Dominic's demand for allegiance. He's dangerous, Serena said. Less dangerous than Dominic. Cale pulled a card from his pocket, pressed it into her hand. This is a contact in Shadowvale. Someone who can get you an audience with Ezra. I can't promise he'll help, but he's your best chance. Serena looked at the card. A name. A number. A lifeline or a noose, she couldn't tell which. Why are you doing this? She asked. Really? Cale was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. Because I watched my brother destroy you for 3 years. Watched him ignore you, dismiss you, betray you. And I said nothing. Did nothing. His gray eyes met hers, and she saw the truth there, had always seen it, maybe, but had never let herself acknowledge it. I should have fought for you, Serena. I should have, he broke off, jaw clenching. It doesn't matter now. What matters is getting you somewhere safe. Will you go? Before she could answer, a crash came from the hallway. A child's cry. Serena was moving before she consciously decided to, wrenching open the door to find Mrs. Chen standing frozen in her doorway, staring at something in the corridor. Rose was on the floor, crying, normal 3-year-old tears, from a normal stumble. But Lily was crouched beside her sister, and she was shifting. Her small body rippled and contorted, bones cracking and reforming, dark fur sprouting across her skin. It should have taken minutes. It should have been agonizing. Instead, it happened in seconds, smooth and natural and utterly impossible. A wolf pup stood where Serena's daughter had been. Tiny. Perfect. With eyes that glowed pure, impossible gold. Mrs. Chen made a sound, not quite a scream, more a gasping prayer. Her rosary was in her hands before Serena could blink. Mrs. Chen. Serena kept her voice steady despite her pounding heart. Mrs. Chen, look at me. The elderly woman's eyes darted between Serena and the wolf pup. What is? It's okay. Kale was beside her suddenly, his voice soft and persuasive. It's okay. You're tired. You've been working too hard. You fell asleep in your chair and had a strange dream. His wolf pushed against hers, not threatening but compelling. An alpha's persuasion, subtle and irresistible. Mrs. Chen's eyes glazed slightly, her grip on the rosary loosening. A dream, she repeated. That's right. Just a dream. You're going to go back to your apartment now and take a nice long nap. When you wake up, you won't remember anything strange. Mrs. Chen nodded slowly, turned, and shuffled back into her apartment. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Serena was already gathering Lily, still in wolf form, into her arms. The pup whimpered and pressed against her chest, small heart racing. She shifted. Serena's voice cracked. Kale, she's 3. Wolves don't shift until puberty. Even the strongest bloodlines don't shift before 10 or 11. I know. How is this possible? Rose was crying harder now, reaching for her sister. Lily, change back. You're scaring me. As if responding to her twin's distress, Lily's form rippled again. The shift reversed itself, bones and fur and golden eyes giving way to a small, trembling girl. Lily blinked up at her mother, tears streaming down her face. Mama, I didn't mean to. I felt Rose fall and I wanted to protect her and then I was different. Shoo. Serena held both girls close, rocking them. It's okay. It's not your fault. But it wasn't okay. It would never be okay again. Someone had seen. Even if Mrs. Chen's memory had been altered, someone else could have been watching. Could have noticed. Could be reporting to Dominic's hunters right now. We have to go. Kale's voice was urgent. Tonight. Serena nodded, the decision crystallizing in her chest like ice. 3 years of building a life. 3 years of pretending to be human. And it was over in an instant, undone by her daughter's impossible shift. Shadowvale, she said. Get us to Shadowvale. The Shadowvale territory was nothing like Serena expected. She'd imagined something dark and forbidding, a land to match its terrifying reputation. Instead, the forest they drove through was ancient and beautiful, towering pines giving way to mountain meadows carpeted with wildflowers. The air smelled of cedar and snow and something wild. The pack house itself was built into the mountainside, all stone and timber and massive windows that reflected the setting sun. Nothing like the cold marble palace of the Crescent Moon Pack. This place looked like it had grown from the earth itself. Alpha Ezra Cole was waiting for them in the great hall. He was younger than Serena expected, perhaps 30, with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on ancient coins. Sharp cheekbones. A strong jaw. Eyes the color of pine needles in shadow. He watched her approach with an expression of absolute stillness. The lost Luna. His voice was deep, measured. I wondered when you'd find your way here. I'm not a Luna anymore. I rejected the title. Titles can be rejected. Blood cannot. His gaze dropped to the girls, who stood clutching Serena's hands. These are the children. My daughters. Lily and Rose. Something flickered across Ezra's face, interest, recognition, she couldn't tell. They're powerful. I can feel it from here. They're 3 years old. They're children. Yes. He met her eyes again. Which makes their power all the more remarkable. Serena had spent the long drive preparing arguments, reasons why Ezra should grant them sanctuary. She'd planned to offer her services as a healer, her knowledge of pack politics, anything she had that might be valuable. But standing before him now, all her careful preparations evaporated. I need your protection, she said simply. Dominic is coming for us. He'll tear the world apart to find these girls, and when he does, she couldn't finish. When he does, he'll use them. Ezra completed her thought. Breed them, eventually. Create a dynasty of power that no one could challenge. The bluntness of it made her flinch, but she didn't look away. Yes. Ezra was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was careful. I can offer you sanctuary. Protection. A home for you and your daughters. But I need something in return. Name it. A political marriage. He raised a hand to forestall her protest. Not a true mating, my wolf has no interest in forcing bonds. But I need a Luna. Someone with royal blood to legitimize my claim against Dominic's expanding empire. Someone who can stand beside me and give my pack the strength they need to resist. Serena thought of the life she'd built. The small apartment. The hospital shifts. The ordinary, human existence she'd fought so hard to create. It was already gone. Had been gone the moment Lily shifted in that corridor. The girls stay with me. Always. Non-negotiable. Of course. And if I ever need to leave, if this arrangement stops working, you'll be free to go. Ezra's expression softened, just slightly. I'm not Dominic, Serena. I don't keep prisoners. But I should warn you, if you accept, there's no going back. Dominic will see our marriage as a declaration of war. He was always going to see my survival as a declaration of war. Ezra nodded slowly, something like respect flickering in his green eyes. Then we have an agreement. She should have felt trapped. Should have felt like she was trading one cage for another. Instead, as she shook Ezra Cole's hand, she felt something unexpected. Control. For the first time in years, she was making a choice. Not running. Not hiding. Choosing. The night before the ceremony, Serena couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of the room Ezra had given her, watching the moon rise over the mountains. The girls were asleep in the adjoining room, finally peaceful after days of upheaval. She could hear their steady breathing through the wall. Her wolf stirred, not with the usual anxiety, but with something else. A warning. Then she heard it. The distant sound of engines. Dozens of them. And wolves howling. Hundreds of wolves. Ezra appeared in her doorway, fully dressed, a sword at his hip. His face was grim. He's found you. Serena looked out the window. In the valley below, lights were appearing, headlights, torches, the gleam of weapons in moonlight. Dominic's forces, pouring into Shadowvale like a flood. How, she whispered. It doesn't matter how. What matters is what happens next. Ezra moved to stand beside her. There's something you need to know, Serena. Something I should have told you before. What? Your wolf. The power that awakened that night in the throne room. The golden eyes your daughters share. He turned to face her. It's not just royal blood. You're not just from any royal line. Then what am I? Ezra's voice dropped to barely a whisper, as if speaking the words too loudly might summon something terrible. You're the lost daughter of the original Luna. The first werewolf queen. You were hidden at birth to protect you from those who would use your power. The world went still. Your daughters carry that same power, amplified by whatever magic sparked their conception. Ezra's green eyes were intense. Dominic didn't just lose his Luna that night. He lost the most powerful wolves in existence. And he doesn't even know it. Below them, the army continued to gather. And somewhere in that mass of soldiers and wolves, Serena could feel him. Dominic. Her former mate. Her hunter. He was coming. And for the first time, she wasn't running. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The wedding gown was white silk and moonstone, nothing like the heavy silver crown she'd worn as Luna of the Crescent Moon Pack. Serena stood at the altar of Shadowvale's great hall, Ezra beside her in formal black, as the doors exploded inward. Dominic Voss strode through the wreckage like a force of nature. He was flanked by a dozen warriors, but Serena barely registered them. All she could see was him. Broader than she remembered, harder, with new lines carved around his mouth and eyes that burned with something between madness and desperation. 3 years had changed him. Stripped away whatever civility had once masked the beast beneath. He stopped 20 feet from the altar, chest heaving, and his gaze found her like a heat-seeking missile. Then it dropped to the 2 small figures pressed against her legs. Lily and Rose stared back at their father with identical expressions of wary curiosity. They'd never seen him before, Serena had made certain of that, had purged every photograph, every mention of his name. But blood recognized blood. She could see it in the way their wolves stirred, reaching toward the stranger who was not quite a stranger. Dominic made a sound. Not quite a word. Something raw and wounded, torn from deep in his chest. They have my mother's eyes, he whispered. His mother, who had died giving birth to Kale. Who Dominic had worshipped with the fierce devotion of a boy who remembered her warmth even as it faded. Serena had seen the portrait once, a woman with eyes the color of autumn honey, gentle and knowing. Lily and Rose had those exact eyes. Dominic. Ezra's voice was calm, almost bored. You're interrupting a wedding ceremony. Even for an alpha king, that's considered poor form. Dominic's attention snapped to the other man, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. You dare. You dare stand beside my mate. Your mate? Serena stepped forward, positioning herself between Dominic and her daughters. Her wolf was howling, a chaos of conflicting impulses: run, fight, protect, destroy. You severed our bond, remember? In front of your entire court. You replaced me with your mistress. You made me nothing. Serena. Now I am nothing to you. She lifted her chin, meeting his wild eyes with cold certainty. Exactly what you wanted. That's not, I didn't. Dominic ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so uncharacteristically vulnerable that it made Serena's chest ache despite everything. The bond was never severed. The witch lied. Took my payment and gave me nothing but an illusion. Convenient. It's the truth. He stepped closer, and Ezra's hand moved to his sword hilt. Dominic ignored him completely, all his attention focused on Serena. I felt you, these past months. Felt you through the bond one thought was dead. You were afraid. You were exhausted. You woke up at 3 in the morning every night to check on them, his voice cracked. I felt the moment they were born. 2 heartbeats appearing in my soul like stars igniting. I didn't know what it meant. I thought I was losing my mind. So you executed your elders and imprisoned Vivian. Very sane behavior. I was mad with it. Dominic's hands clenched at his sides. 3 years not knowing if you were alive or dead. 3 years feeling phantom sensations through a bond one believed I'd destroyed. And then suddenly, life. New life, connected to mine. Do you have any idea? I have every idea. Serena's voice went sharp as broken glass. I'm the one who gave birth alone in a motel room. Who raised them without help, without money, without anyone to turn to. While you sat on your throne with your pregnant mistress, I was working night shifts and praying my daughters wouldn't accidentally reveal what they were. Mama. Rose tugged at her skirt. Mama, why is that man crying? Dominic was, Serena realized. Silent tears tracking down his face, his expression a devastation of grief and longing. He dropped to his knees, the Alpha King, kneeling on the stone floor of his enemy's hall, and held out his hands toward the girls. Please, he said. Please, let me. No. Serena pulled them behind her. You don't get to do this. You don't get to show up 3 years later with tears and apologies and expect everything to be forgiven. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Dominic's voice was raw. I'm asking for a chance. To know them. Too. The explosion came without warning. The western wall of the great hall collapsed inward, massive stones tumbling like children's blocks. Serena grabbed the girls and dove behind the altar as debris rained down. When the dust cleared, she looked up to see something impossible. Vivian Ashworth stood in the breach, surrounded by an army. But this wasn't the Vivian Serena remembered, the simpering court beauty with her false sympathy and practiced smiles. This Vivian wore black leather armor, her blonde hair pulled back severely, her eyes blazing with cold triumph. The wolves flanking her weren't crescent moon soldiers. They were rogues, packless, lawless, the outcasts and criminals of the werewolf world. Well, Vivian said, surveying the chaos with evident satisfaction. Isn't this cozy? My husband, my replacement, and the bastard children all in one convenient location. Dominic rose slowly, his expression shifting from grief to confusion to dawning horror. Vivian. What? Oh, Dominic. She laughed, a bright, brittle sound. Still so slow. After all this time, still so pathetically easy to manipulate. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the past 5 years. Our entire relationship. Vivian descended the pile of rubble with elegant grace, her robes spreading out to surround the hall. Did you really think it was coincidence that I appeared at court just when your marriage to the little mouse was getting stale? That I happened to be exactly your type? That I got pregnant so conveniently? Serena watched Dominic's face as understanding crept across it like frost. The dark witch, he breathed. The one who claimed to sever the bond. My mother. Vivian's smile was a knife's edge. A useful woman. Not terribly bright, but skilled in her craft. She's the one who created the illusion that fooled you. She's also the one who helped me conceive, since your seed never actually quickened in my womb. Magic, Dominic. It was all magic. Every moment of it. The child. Not yours. Never was. A construct, grown from spell components and stolen blood. Did you never wonder why he couldn't shift? Why he was so weak? Vivian's laugh turned cruel. There is no heir. There never was. Just a tool to drive away your true Luna and clear my path to power. The hall had gone deathly silent. Even the rogue seemed frozen, watching the drama unfold. Why? Dominic's voice was barely a whisper. Because your grandfather killed my father. All pretense of amusement dropped from Vivian's face, revealing something ancient and bitter beneath. Because your bloodline has ruled the wolf world for too long. Because I watched my mother grieve herself to madness while the Voss Kings sat fat and happy on their throne, and I swore I would burn it all down. She turned to look at Serena, and her eyes glittered with malice. And you, little mouse. You were supposed to stay gone. Die in obscurity somewhere, never to trouble me again. But here you are, standing in my way one more time. With those mongrels at your feet. Lily growled. Actually growled, a tiny sound that would have been adorable in other circumstances. Rose pressed closer to Serena's legs, shaking. Don't call them that, Serena said quietly. I'll call them whatever I like. Vivian raised one hand, and dark magic coiled around her fingers like smoke. In fact, I'll do whatever I like with them. Starting with this. She spoke a word in a language Serena didn't recognize, and both girls screamed. Serena caught them as they collapsed, their small bodies convulsing, their eyes rolling back. She could feel it, a wrongness spreading through them like poison, black tendrils of magic wrapping around their hearts. What did you do? Serena's voice was barely human. Her wolf was clawing at the surface, desperate to get out. What did you do? A death curse. Vivian examined her nails with studied casualness. Lovely little spell. They'll be dead before sunrise unless it's removed. And the only way to remove it is for the caster to die, or for you to surrender yourself for execution in their place. Mother, please, a figure stumbled through the rogues, a small, pale boy with Vivian's coloring and empty eyes. The child she'd claimed was Dominic's heir. Please, you promised we could go home after. Silence. Vivian didn't even look at him. You've served your purpose, construct. Be grateful I don't dissolve you where you stand. The boy, the creature, fell silent, something terribly sad moving across his face. So here's how this will work. Vivian returned her attention to Serena. You will surrender yourself to me. You will let me execute you in front of everyone. And in exchange, I'll lift the curse from your precious spawn. They can live out their pathetic lives as orphans while I rule the wolf world. And if I refuse? Then you can hold them while they die. Vivian's smile returned. Your choice, little mouse. Your life, or theirs. You have until sunrise to decide. The next hours were chaos. Ezra's forces engaged the rogues while Dominic's warriors, uncertain whose side they should be on, eventually joined the defense. Serena barely registered any of it. She was in a small chamber off the great hall, holding her daughters as they burned with magical fever, watching the life drain from them minute by minute. Dominic appeared in the doorway. He looked like he'd been through a war. Bloodied, exhausted, his fine clothes torn and stained. How are they? Dying. Serena didn't look up. The healers can't do anything. The curse is too strong. He entered the room slowly, as if approaching a wild animal. Knelt beside her on the floor. Up close, she could see the years of damage written on his face, not just the battle, but the strain of what he'd become. What he'd done. I'm sorry, he said. Sorry doesn't save them. I know. He reached out, hesitated, then brushed a strand of hair from Rose's forehead. The girl whimpered but didn't wake. I know sorry isn't enough. Will never be enough. But I need you to hear it anyway. Serena closed her eyes. Why did you do it, Dominic? That day in the throne room. Even if Vivian was manipulating you, you made the choice. You chose to humiliate me. To discard me. Because I was afraid. The admission came out raw, like it cost him something to say it. Of you. Of what you made me feel. The mate bond it was consuming. Every time I looked at you, I wanted to drown in you. And I'd watched my father be destroyed by that kind of love. Watched him waste away after my mother died, neglect his kingdom, neglect his sons. So you decided to destroy me first. I decided to destroy the bond. To be free of it. His laugh was hollow. Vivian offered me a solution, and I took it without question. Because I was a coward. Because it was easier than facing what I actually felt. Lily stirred, moaning softly. Her skin was burning hot, her heartbeat irregular. She felt it, Serena said quietly. The curse. It's eating them from the inside out. Dominic was silent for a long moment. Then, the death curse. You said the only way to break it is for the caster to die, or for you to surrender yourself. Yes. There's another way. He met her eyes, and she saw something there that she hadn't seen in years. The boy who'd courted her with wildflowers and poetry. The young alpha who'd promised to cherish her forever. A blood sacrifice from a true mate can break almost any dark magic. No. Serena shook her head violently. You can't. I'm their father. His voice cracked. Let me do this one thing right. Let me save them, even if I couldn't save you. Before she could respond, Ezra appeared in the doorway. His green eyes swept the scene. Dominic kneeling beside Serena, the dying children between them. We've captured one of Vivian's lieutenants, he said. She knows where Vivian's mother is hiding. If we can reach the witch before sunrise, then we can force her to break the curse. Serena was on her feet instantly. Where? A cave system in the northern mountains. 2 hours ride if we push hard. Ezra hesitated. But Serena, breaking a curse this powerful, forcing a dark witch to undo her own work. There's still a price. There's always a price. The blood of a true mate, Dominic said, rising. I know. I'll pay it. No. Serena's wolf surged forward, surprising her with its vehemence. You don't get to martyr yourself and call it redemption. These are my children. They're our children. Dominic's voice was quiet but fierce. Whatever else I've done, whatever else I am, they carry my blood. And for the first time in my miserable life, I'm going to do something worthy of that. The two alphas stared at each other, Ezra, the man Serena had agreed to marry for protection, Dominic, the man who destroyed her and now wanted to die to save their daughters. We don't have time for this, Ezra said finally. The witch is 2 hours away and the curse is progressing faster than expected. We need to move now. Serena looked at her daughters, at Dominic, at the impossible situation she'd found herself in. Then let's move, she said. We'll figure out who's sacrificing what when we get there. She gathered her girls in her arms, their small bodies burning against her chest, and prayed to whatever gods might listen that she could find another way. Because she'd already lost everything once. She wasn't sure she could survive losing it again. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The cave mouth gaped like a wound in the mountainside, ancient and hungry. Serena dismounted before anyone could stop her, her daughters limp in the makeshift sling across her chest. Their breathing had grown shallow in the last hour, their heartbeats fluttering like trapped birds. She could feel the curse tightening around them, a noose of dark magic drawing ever closer. Serena, wait, Dominic swung down from his horse, reaching for her. Stay here. Her voice came out strange. Layered, resonant, as if someone else was speaking through her. Both of you. This is my path. Like hell it is. Dominic started forward, and Ezra grabbed his arm. She's right. Ezra's green eyes were fixed on the cave entrance, his expression unreadable. Can't you feel it? The magic in there, it's calling to her. Only her. Dominic's jaw clenched, but he didn't move. Couldn't move, Serena realized. Something was holding him in place, and with a start, she understood it was her. Her wolf. Her power, reaching out without conscious thought. I'll bring them back, she said. I promise. She didn't wait for a response. The darkness swallowed her whole. The tunnel wound deeper into the mountain, lit by phosphorescent moss that cast everything in pale green. Serena followed a pull she couldn't explain, something in her blood recognizing this place, guiding her steps through passages that should have been impossible to navigate. The girls stirred against her chest, whimpering. Hold on, she whispered. Just hold on a little longer. The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, and Serena stopped breathing. The space was dominated by a stone altar, ancient beyond comprehension, covered in carvings that seemed to move in the flickering light. Behind it stood a woman who might have been beautiful once, before madness and dark magic had hollowed her out. Vivian's mother. The witch who had started all of this. But it wasn't the witch that held Serena's attention. It was what lay behind her. A sarcophagus of pure moonstone, glowing with inner light. And carved into its surface, a face Serena recognized from dreams she'd had since childhood. High cheekbones. A strong jaw. Eyes that seemed to look directly into her soul. The original Luna. The first werewolf queen. Her ancestor. So. The witch's voice was a rasp, ruined by years of dark incantations. The lost daughter finally comes home. Break the curse. Serena's hands tightened on her daughter's. Break it now, and I'll let you live. The witch laughed, a terrible sound, like bones grinding together. You think I have a choice? The curse was cast. It cannot be undone by my will alone. Then tell me how to undo it. Such fire. The witch circled the altar, trailing skeletal fingers across the ancient stone. Your mother had the same fire. Before they killed her. Before they hid you away like a dirty secret. Serena's heart stuttered. My mother was the original Luna's last direct descendant. Until you. The witch gestured at the sarcophagus. The bloodline was supposed to die with her. That was the plan. End the threat forever. But someone smuggled you out. Gave you to a lesser pack. Let you grow up believing you were ordinary. The dreams. The sense of wrongness that had plagued her entire childhood. The way she'd never quite fit anywhere, until Dominic chose her as his mate and she'd thought, foolishly, that she'd finally found her place. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're choosing. The witch's eyes glittered with something that might have been pity. There's only one way to break the curse on your children. You must fully awaken your bloodline. Become what you were always meant to be. Then I'll do it. You don't understand. The witch moved closer, and Serena saw the madness swimming in her gaze. The original Luna was more than wolf, more than human. She was a force of nature. A conduit for the moon's raw power. When you awaken that power in yourself, she shook her head. You may save your daughters. But you may lose yourself entirely. Your humanity. Your capacity for mercy. Everything that makes you you. Serena looked down at Lily and Rose. Their skin was gray now, their lips blue. She could count their heartbeats, slower and slower, the spaces between growing longer. Tell me what to do. The ritual was older than language. Serena laid her daughters on the altar, their small bodies barely making an impression on the ancient stone. The witch directed her to the sarcophagus, to a hollow in its surface where a handprint waited, her hand, she realized. Made for her, thousands of years before she was born. Place your hand there and call to her, the witch instructed. Call to the first mother. Accept her power. Let it fill you completely. And my daughters? If you succeed, the curse will shatter. If you fail, the witch shrugged. You'll all die together. Perhaps that's a mercy. Serena approached the sarcophagus. The moonstone was warm beneath her fingers, humming with dormant power. She could feel her wolf pressing forward, eager, unafraid. This is what we are, her wolf whispered. This is what we've always been. She placed her hand in the hollow. The world exploded into light. Pain. Pain like she'd never imagined, like her entire being was being unmade and remade. She felt her wolf surge forward, but this was no ordinary shift, this was transformation at the cellular level, every part of her burning away and reforming into something new. She saw things. Memories that weren't hers. The original Luna, standing before an army of wolves, commanding them with nothing but her will. The same woman, gentle and laughing, holding a child to her breast. Wars. Betrayals. Love that transcended death. And beneath it all, a voice. Daughter, the original Luna whispered across millennia. My last daughter. I've waited so long for you. I don't know if I can do this, Serena thought. You already are. The power settled into her bones like coming home. She opened her eyes, and the world had changed. She could see everything. Feel everything. The witch cowering in the corner. Her daughters on the altar, the curse wrapped around them like black chains. And those chains? She could see them now. Could reach out and... She didn't think. She simply commanded. Break. The curse shattered. The black chains dissolved into nothing. And on the altar, two small girls took deep, gasping breaths and opened their eyes. Mama? Lily's voice was confused but strong. Mama, you're glowing. Serena looked at her hands. Golden light pulsed beneath her skin, matching the rhythm of her heartbeat. She could feel it, power unlike anything she'd ever imagined. The ability to create or destroy. To heal or kill. To command any wolf, anywhere, regardless of pack or allegiance. She was no longer Serena Blackwood, the forgotten Luna. She was something else entirely. The witch, Rose said suddenly, pointing. Mama, the witch is leaving. Vivian's mother was indeed scrambling toward a passage in the back of the cavern. Serena raised her hand, and the woman froze mid-step. You helped curse my children, Serena said, her voice echoing with power that made the stone walls tremble. You helped destroy my life. Give me one reason I shouldn't end you here. I can tell you things, the witch gasped. About the ones who hunt your bloodline. About the threat that's coming. Please, my daughter compelled me, I had no choice. There's always a choice. But the word struck something in Serena. Compelled. Vivian had been compelled? We'll talk later. She released the witch, who collapsed in a heap. Try to run again and I won't be so merciful. She gathered her daughters, whole, healthy, alive, and turned toward the tunnel. Time to end this. The battle was still raging when Serena emerged from the cave. Shadowvale's forces and Dominic's warriors fought side by side against Vivian's rogues, but they were losing ground. There were simply too many enemies, too much chaos. Serena saw wolves she recognized fall beneath the onslaught, saw Ezra bleeding from a wound in his side, saw Dominic fighting like a man possessed to hold the line. She walked into the middle of it. Wolves snarled and lunged at her. She didn't slow down. Stop. The word wasn't spoken aloud. It didn't need to be. It resonated through the bond that connected all wolves, a command from something older and more powerful than any alpha. The rogue stopped. Ezra's wolves stopped. Dominic's warriors stopped. Everyone stood frozen, mid-motion, unable to move. Serena continued forward until she reached the center of the battlefield. Dominic and Ezra stared at her with identical expressions of awe and terror. She barely registered them. Kneel. The word rippled outward like a shockwave. Every wolf dropped. Dominic, his face twisted with shock, hit his knees on the blood-soaked ground. Ezra, proud and controlled, collapsed beside him. The rogues, the warriors, the defenders, all of them kneeling, heads bowed, wolves whimpering in submission. Only one figure remained standing. Vivian. The blonde woman stood alone among the sea of kneeling wolves, her expression cycling through confusion, fear, and finally understanding. You can't command me, she said slowly. Why can't you command me? Because you're not a wolf. Serena walked toward her, power crackling around her like lightning. You never were. A human witch, masquerading as one of us. Did you really think you could fool everyone forever? Vivian's face contorted. This was supposed to be my victory. My revenge. The Voss bloodline was supposed to end. The Voss bloodline ended nothing. Serena stopped 5 feet away, looking at the woman who had destroyed her life. You did. You orchestrated everything, the bond manipulation, the pregnancy illusion, the curse on my children. Why? Because your bloodline took everything from me. Vivian's composure finally cracked, rage pouring out like poison. My father. My mother's sanity. My entire future. The original Luna's descendants have been a plague on this world for millennia. I never even knew what I was until tonight. It doesn't matter what you knew. It matters what you are. Vivian's hand moved toward her hip, a hidden blade, Serena realized. And what you are needs to die. I'm giving you a choice. Serena's voice was calm, almost gentle. Face wolf justice. A trial, a fair hearing, consequences determined by law, or face me. Right now. Right here. Vivian's laugh was wild, broken. Wolf justice? From the animals who've hunted my kind for centuries? I'd rather die. So be it. Vivian drew the blade and lunged. She never reached her target. Serena's hand came up, golden light blazing, and Vivian simply stopped. Hung suspended in the air, blade inches from Serena's throat. Before you die, Serena said quietly, tell me the truth. All of it. And whether it was the command in her voice or some final need for confession, Vivian spoke. I never hated you, she gasped, tears streaming down her face. I was compelled. Bound to this purpose before I was born. There's something older than the Pax, older than the original Luna herself. A force that's been hunting your bloodline since the beginning. It found my mother. Used her. Used me. Her voice broke. I had dreams once. Hopes. A boy I loved. And then the binding took hold and none of it mattered anymore. Who? Serena demanded. Who bound you? I don't know its name. Only that it will never stop. Killing me doesn't end the threat, it only begins. Vivian's eyes met hers, and for a moment, Serena saw the woman she might have been. Broken. Tragic. A puppet whose strings had finally been cut. End it. Please. Let me be free. Serena released her. Vivian fell to her knees, took one long breath, and drove her own blade into her heart. The aftermath was chaos of a different kind. Healers rushed to tend the wounded. The rogues, freed from whatever dark magic had bound them to Vivian's service, surrendered without resistance. Dominic and Ezra climbed to their feet, both watching Serena with expressions she couldn't read. She found her daughters with Kale, who had apparently arrived during the battle and immediately focused on protecting them. The three of them sat together on a fallen log, Lily and Rose chattering excitedly while Kale listened with patient attention. Mama. Rose spotted her first. Uncle Kale says we're special. Uncle Kale. Serena filed that away for later consideration. You are special, she said, kneeling to gather them close. The most special girls in the entire world. What happens now? Lily's voice was quieter, more serious. Do we go back to the apartment? To Mrs. Chen? Serena thought of the small apartment with no elevator. The night shifts at the hospital. The constant fear, the endless hiding, the desperate hope that if she just stayed invisible long enough, they might be safe. That life was over. Had been over the moment Lily shifted in that corridor. Now, she said slowly, we do something different. She rose and turned to face the two alphas who had shaped her fate in such different ways. Ezra spoke first. The marriage arrangement. I understand if. I'm grateful for your protection, Serena interrupted gently. And I'll honor the alliance we discussed. But I won't be marrying you. I won't be marrying anyone. He accepted this with a small nod, something like relief flickering across his features. Then what will you do? I'm declaring myself an independent Luna. The words felt right as she spoke them. I answer to no alpha. No pack. No king. Her gaze shifted to Dominic, who stood rigid and silent, watching her with desperate intensity. I'll raise my daughters to be queens in their own right. And anyone who tries to take them from me will learn exactly what that means. Serena, Dominic stepped forward. Please. Let me explain. Let me try to make this right. I know I don't deserve. You're right. She cut him off, not cruelly, but firmly. You don't deserve anything from me. And right now, I can't give you anything. Too much has happened. Too much has changed. She paused. But I'm not going to pretend the mate bond doesn't exist anymore. I can feel it, really feel it now, without the suppression, without the illusion. It's still there. Hope flickered in his eyes. Then. That doesn't mean I forgive you. It doesn't mean I trust you. It doesn't mean anything except that I'm done running from the truth. She turned away, gathering her daughter's hands in hers. Goodbye, Dominic. She walked away from the battlefield, from the pack, from the man who had once been her entire world. The mate bond hummed between them, demanding acknowledgement. She ignored it. For now. 6 months later. The settlement had grown faster than Serena expected. What started as a handful of refugees, wolves fleeing abusive packs, rogues seeking redemption, outcasts who had nowhere else to go, had become a thriving community. They called it Moonhaven, though Serena privately thought the name was a bit dramatic. Her people seemed to like it. She stood on the porch of her modest house, watching the sun set over the valley. Lily and Rose were playing in the yard, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. They'd learned to control their shifts now, though they still did it more easily than should have been possible for their age. Alpha. Kale appeared at her side, using the title the pack had insisted on giving her despite her protests. There's someone at the border. Requesting an audience. Who? Kale's expression was carefully neutral. Dominic. Serena's heart stuttered. She'd heard reports over the months, Dominic abdicating his throne, passing the crown to Kale, retreating from public life entirely. She'd assumed he was rebuilding somewhere, gathering strength for another attempt to take back what he'd lost. She hadn't expected this. She walked to the border alone, despite Kale's protests. The sentries parted to let her through, and there, kneeling in the dirt just beyond the invisible line that marked Moonhaven's territory, was the former Alpha King. He looked different. Thinner. Older. Dressed in simple traveling clothes instead of royal finery. No crown. No army. No weapons that she could see. Just a man on his knees, waiting. Dominic. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. He looked up, and the expression on his face made her chest ache despite everything. Raw. Unguarded. Completely stripped of the arrogance that had defined him for so long. I'm not here as the Alpha King, he said. I gave that up. Gave it to Kale. He's better suited to it than I ever was. Then why are you here? I'm here as the man who destroyed the only thing that mattered. His voice cracked, but he didn't look away. Reject me if you want. I'll wait at your border every day until I die. You're my mate. You've always been my mate. And I'm done being too much of a coward to deserve you. The mate bond sang between them, stronger than ever. Serena looked at him for a long moment, this man who had broken her, betrayed her, and then broken himself trying to make it right. She thought of all the reasons she should send him away. All the reasons she should protect herself from ever being hurt like that again. Then she thought of her daughters, playing in the yard. Of the power humming in her veins. Of the woman she'd become, not despite the pain, but because of it. She was no longer the frightened Luna who'd fled into the night with nothing. She was something else entirely. Get up, she said finally. Hope and confusion warred on his face. Serena. I said get up. You look ridiculous kneeling in the dirt. She crossed her arms. You can stay. Probation LA. In the guest quarters. You'll work like everyone else, follow the same rules as everyone else, and earn your place here like everyone else. Yes. Yes, of course. Whatever you want. And Dominic? She waited until his eyes met hers. If you ever hurt me or our daughters again, there won't be a force in this world that can protect you from what I'll do. Understood? Understood. She turned and walked back toward Moonhaven, not waiting to see if he followed. The mate bond hummed between them, patient and eternal. Maybe, eventually, she'd stop ignoring it. But that was a story for another day. Total arc, rejected Luna hidden single mother awakened queen independent power. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.